Hey there guys, and welcome to another episode of Gaming Chat. As you can see, I'm back to the old format with me just standing here talking directly to you guys. So now I'd like to talk about something that has been just kind of, been building up in my brain over time, which is when the new consoles came out, when the Wii U, PS4, the Xbox One, when they all came out, there was one thing on my mind, which is I don't want to buy any of them. It's as simple as that. I had no reason to go out there and get them. Both the Xbox One and the PS4 were too expensive, but of course it's relative to who you are. And for me, too expensive. The Wii U, it was, its price, decently, and it is what it is. It just didn't have enough games to whet my appetite. And so I'm looking at all of these things as a whole, where I have every single different type of console in my house. For example, if I look down, you guys can't see it, but I have a PS3, which I bought really late in the game, and it pretty much collects dust right there. We have an Xbox 360. Foisco uses that a lot more than I do, which is my significant other if this is your first episode. But then I also have the Wii. And, they all seem to be getting used less and less these days. I don't know why that is. I just beginning to think about, okay, so a new console comes out. I'm barely even using my current ones. Why am I going to go and buy a new one? Especially without having backwards compatibility. That's a big feature for me. Like if there is a list of features, and you say, okay, this equals one feature, this equals another. Backwards compatibility is pretty big on my list. We have everything set up from a Super Nintendo to what have you. We have 2 different TVs. We have all the consoles pretty much hooked up. It's incredible. We have about 10 consoles just ready to go almost at a whim, for the most part. And it's just weird that when the new consoles came out, I had no desire to buy them. This is the first time ever that I did not get a Nintendo thing at launch. It's always been Nintendo 64 came out. I was only 6 years old, at the time or so. My mother went out and got it day one, gave it to me at Christmas time or something like that. Basically, the GameCube came out. I remember waiting in line for that. I mean, it was great. I was with my mom that time too. I was like 11 years old. I was excited or what have you. But then the Wii came out. I remember getting that launch day. It came out. I'll always remember it. It was like November 14th. I don't remember the year. I think it was 2006. Because we were literally 14th in line, and I was excited. I was revved up. I was like, yeah, I want to get the Wii. Got it at launch. I bought every game that they had because this motion control technology blew my mind, and I wanted to give it a try. I haven't done any demos, and for what it was, at the time, I had fun. Now I see a lot of its gimmick, and I don't really have fun. But I was younger, and I was excited by the notion of swinging the arm around, doing swords, having the gun and shooting like we would back with the light guns back in arcades and all that stuff. I was pumped. Not prepared to know that it was gonna be horrible, but I did not notice it was horrible. Now I do. That's something that came with age, sort of experience, and it's interesting to me that I was sold on that more than the other consoles because the other ones had better graphics and what have you, but this one had something unique and something going for it. Kind of like the DS, having the screen down here and a screen up here. There was something that really was nice and new and sold me on it. This generation doesn't really have anything new. Everyone's got motion controls, and for the most part, most people really still aren't utilizing them in the way that they could be. There are some examples, but that are good, but it's for the most part still really, I don't want to say gimmicky, but there is a future to it to be had, especially in PC gaming, where we have things like the Oculus Rift, and then of course the Omni that you walk on. Now you have other things that you can put all over you, and it'll sense and track you. Basically, the future is almost here in terms of the next step of gaming, which is really going to be a PC thing from what I can tell. I don't see it happening on the consoles. I don't see any of the companies going in, snatching up Oculus Rift or anything like that, or working on their own. I mean, maybe they are. I mean, obviously, tight secrets are going to be big in the industry, and they don't want to share that type of stuff. But basically, the reason why I'm mentioning this is because the new consoles come out. We have the Wii U, the Xbox One, and the PS4. And like I said, I have no desire to get any of them. I have a Wii U, and that was only because the Zelda edition came out, and I'm a Zelda collector, and I pretty much have to have it. It's like a compulsion, provided I can afford it. And I did, and I bought it, and it came with Wind Waker HD, and I had fun with that. But really, for the most part, you know, we also did play the new Super Mario 3D World, and basically, you know, I spent all this money on it, and I say, okay, I spent $300 on the console. Even if it's split between two people, just treat it like you're the one buying it for yourself. Okay, $300, and then pretty much $50, you know, for this Mario game. So $350 plus tax, you know, let's say it's $375. And then of course I got Wind Waker HD with it, you know, for free. So you could really say that the Wii U, you know, was like $250 instead of $300. So knock off $50, you know, no matter where you look at it, I still spent $375. And for that experience, do I feel like it was worth $375? No, not really. Basically, if I'm going to be dropping down some serious cash on a console, $300 is serious cash to a lot of people. And the people who can buy an Xbox One on day one, you know, or a PS4, or even a PS3 back in the day, you know, $600, go right ahead, it's your money. But for the average consumer, I think our wallets kind of just, you know, we're really protecting of them. If we had before the recession and all stuff, before we might have had a wallet like this big, and we're like, yeah, just throw some cash over there, throw some over there, and now we have wallets that are a little bit smaller, and now there's no throwing of cash, not really. So when it comes to saying, yeah, there's a $300 console, it has like a couple games, and you still have to pay like $50 for the games, it's like, no. I can't really do that, because a lot of people, if you're a PC gamer, you know, you don't count in this formula, you already got it good. But for those of you who are console gamers, there's probably a lot of you that are just like me, where you say, hey, here's a console, I'm gonna wait until the price drops, buy it when it's $300 or less, like the Wii U, but then do something where you just buy used games, unfortunately not supporting the developer, but waiting till they're like $30 or so, and because it's still, a lot of games might be a $50 or $60 experience, and you're like, yes, I got it for $30, and you might do like a buy two get one special or something. You know, the game's the game. Doesn't matter if it's new or used. And you say, all right, I got one game, two games, buy one get one free. So I spent $60, and I got 3 games. Or I could have bought them all new and said, here's $150. Yeah, $90 savings on used. I've talked about this before, and $90 is a lot. That could pay for your next car bill, depending on what it is. Get an oil change, get it ready for later in the year when you got to go ahead and re-register it. I mean, $90 is a lot of money. Heck, you could go to the movies, depending on where you live. You could go to a nice movie for maybe, you know, matinee, $7.50 per person or something. Spend $15, you could go see, you know, like 5 movies, you know, 6 movies. It's ridiculous, and you know, and that's with someone. You know, if you were to, you know, treat your girlfriend like I do. So basically, you say, okay, well, the savings are immense if you wait, and you say, I have this much money, and the consoles cost this much money, and then on top of that, you have to add the games, which cost this much money, and you say, well, to the average person, you gotta have something like the Wii had, something that will, you know, really just want to say, take my money and save up for it and be like, here you go. Because dropping down $375 was a lot. I can't imagine doing an Xbox One or PS4 where you drop down $400 or so, and then you still got to buy the games at premium price, and it's like, what's the purpose? Most people aren't getting it when it's new. You may get it when it's new. Some of your friends may get it when it's new, but most people like myself, we're in the same boat as the rest of our friends. We don't have it. And there's if you're like, most people, you have a job, you probably have a huge backlog of games for your current console, like I do. I still haven't even played Red Dead Redemption, and I've had it for over a year and a half. I purchased it when now I could get it even cheaper if I just waited. So I stopped buying games when they were buy two, get one free, because by the time I'm finally getting around to it, it's such a backlog. And then on top of that, you want to play your old games too. Sometimes you just say, man, it's been a couple of years, I really want to go play an old game that you already have. And, because you don't replay them all right away. And depending on if you're playing Fallout or Skyrim or something, you already have tons of hours in just one game. If you only have 3 hours a day or 4 hours a day that you, let's say, commit to gaming, let's say you're a real hardcore gamer, then you could go ahead and say, alright, this is probably going to spend 100 hours playing Skyrim. Alright. 40 hours would take me about 10 days, so we're probably looking at about, a whole month just to get through Skyrim, and then you start playing other games like GTA 5, Red Dead Redemption. It's unreal how long just a couple games can last you. And like I said, if you're working full-time, problem is you're probably not putting 4 hours of gaming in a day. You're probably coming home, maybe doing 2 hours a day, and then you got to somehow get exercise in there, get dinner, hang out with your wife, whatever. It's there's times taking other things. You got to go see the kids' soccer game. As an adult, basically we fall into a different category than we do with a youth. With the youth, you buy something as a parent, you treat your kid. But for yourself, as an adult gamer, there's no real appeal. So basically what I'm driving at in all of this is the cost of gaming. Like I said, if you go out there and buy a console when it's new, that's great. I'm not arguing that you shouldn't. What I'm saying is that for most of us, I want to know what your opinion is on the matter, where you say, hey, I can't really drop down $500 and then start adding games on top of that and turning it into like $1,000 purchase. I mean, then the games at launch, the only thing that sells it is the games. You don't buy the console just to have a console. You buy it so you can play something on it. When I bought the Wii U, we didn't hook it up for about a month because we only had Wind Waker HD. And I already played Wind Waker back in the day on the GameCube. I still own it, so I paid for the same game essentially, even though it was free. And but it was great. It was really good. But I still wouldn't have a Wii U. We still wouldn't have one in our house if it wasn't for the fact that it was a Zelda one. So then on top of that, you have to add peripherals and stuff. If you're a Wii owner, you had like a classic controller and all these other things. Charging stations, which you really don't need. Batteries, the whole deal. It really costs a lot of money to get one when it's new. So we're probably not going to get an Xbox One or a PS4, realistically, honestly, for a minimum of 2 years. Even if the price goes down, and there's more games too, we still have a backlog. And I'm sure many of you are in the same boat, that even 2 years from now, you say, you know what? I wish I had one, but why do you wish you had one? You just wish you had it because it's new. Maybe by then your friends will start getting them too. But off the bat, no. The cost of gaming is too high if you're a console gamer. Like I said, PC gamers, you got it great. You upgrade your PC, you get a nice good one. It's going to cost you more than a gaming console, but it's going to last you just as long or longer, depending on how much you put into it, which is fantastic. And then you have a bigger library of games than we do. It's unreal. So I'm not saying everyone should become PC gamers. Hardly. I prefer having the controllers and the stuff in my hand, even though you can plug controllers in and stuff like that. I mean, it's having the consoles, it's not PC versus console here that I'm trying to get into, but basically there really is something to take away from it, which is the cost of gaming is too high. There needs to be some sort of different way to do things, because I don't even buy new games really. Unless it's Zelda, I really don't. Unless it's a new Grand Theft Auto, which comes out once every blue moon, I mean, it's too hard to say, alright, every year, a new Call of Duty, throw down the $60 to do it. It's like, no, I've barely had it. I like my games to last years, which is why it's great when Zelda or Mario comes out. But there needs to be some sort of change. And I wonder what you guys think about the cost of gaming. Personally, I find that there are a lot of different solutions. We talked about them in our podcast. I've talked about some of the used and new games things here on Gaming Chat. And it is just unreal. I mean, Nintendo's toying with the idea of as you buy more new games, they get cheaper. I kind of like that business model. I kind of don't like the current business model where all games fall at a set price. You say, okay, here is games aren't based upon time. They're based upon enjoyment and how well they are. So you can't say, all right, here's a 40-hour crappy game and place it at $50, and then here's a 10-hour good game at $50. They're not on the same level. That 40-hour crappy one should probably be closer to maybe $20. You know, I wish they would price their games accordingly when they're new, and then I would buy something like that. Like if Nintendo went out and said, here is new Zelda, $50, I'm like, yes. And then you say, all right, here's new Harvest Moon. If you love the Harvest Moon series, you're gonna get hundreds literally of hours out of it. You know, $50, great. But you say, all right, here is a short RPG. Comparatively to the other ones, you say, all right, it's kind of like a filler, you know, go through time, put it at $30. It's like, I think I want to get that game now because that's the price I would have paid when it was used. You know, if you make some of the prices go down accordingly, because by the time that price gets to, you know, it's new and you say, there's a game I want to own, but I don't want to pay that price for it. By the time it gets to the price you want, a couple of years have passed and you've probably forgotten about it, and you might never get to it. In fact, I think that would be a better way to do things, because you can always, of course, in business, start with a higher price, and you say, oh, I don't want to pay that, well then you lower it, and then, you know, so you can always get the most out of your game. But I think that actually hurts from personal experience. There's some games that fall through, I can't even remember certain ones I wanted to buy, but I was like, I don't want to pay that price for it, I'll get it later, and I don't even remember what it was. Didn't write it down, just thought it was interesting, then, you know, didn't pre-order it because it wasn't its time to be bought. And so between that and peripherals and so on and so forth, I think there needs to be a change about the cost of gaming, especially with the pricing that there is right now. If you start looking at things like the Oculus Rift and the Omni and PC gamers, and having the real next step of full immersion, being in a world, it's getting unsettling. So, you know, you could get like probably an Oculus Rift and an Omni together will probably cost you about $800 or so. Then you still need a great gaming PC. Let's just say you drop down $2,000, okay? And that's going to last you forever, okay? A $2,000 PC will last you quite a long time. So let's just even say, you know, with everything together, you say $2,800, and then let's say that even includes having the strap-on things that can sense kind of where you are. Let's just say $3,000 rounded. That's probably on the high end. Let's just say you could even go as low as $2,000, okay? Let's just say $2,000 to $3,000, or you could go ahead and buy a console and the peripherals and all this other stuff, and you'll look at it and say, okay, so I could spend, you know, $500 on a new console or $3,000 for virtual reality. That's quite the jump, of course, but it's gonna get smaller. Consoles seem to stay the price for so many years, and it's gonna be stagnant for a while. New consoles just came out; they're gonna be that way for 6 to 8 years probably, just like the last run we had. So in those 6 to 8 years, virtual reality will start to come in, and theoretically, cost of production will go down. So consoles will go down, but then you'll have to start thinking. You say, okay, virtual reality. If virtual reality truly makes it to $2,000, I'd rather spend $2,000 on virtual reality and have a full immersion experience that's drastically different than we ever had before, versus the usual $400 to get, you know, a console and sit on the couch. It doesn't replace it, but I'd be more encouraged to go ahead and do that. Buy the virtual reality, have it hooked up to PC, and then have this whole new world and whole new experience, because it really sells and drives you. I mean, we can go out, or at least, you know, spend $2,000 in a year on frivolous things like going to the movies and doing all this other stuff. Yeah, they're fun, but just imagine going into a virtual world or virtual hikes or doing whatever, not just virtual gaming. I'm doing this with your significant other, doing this with your friends, and I know $2,000 is a lot of money, but relatively, I think that for something that is so drastically amazing, it's kind of like when the Wii came out. You'd be surprised at how many people will give up the money to go ahead and do that. I'm one of them. And it's just, for what it offers versus what everyone else offers, that's what a big thing comes down to. What is being offered to you, and how much is it? And I just feel like that, at least when consoles are new, they're not worth it. I've pretty much find that consoles are now not worth it until down the road. But that's opinionated. That's my opinion, but I'm sure a lot of you feel the same way. So this has been a huge, elongated topic. But basically, I want to get that out and see what you all think. Because there's so many different angles that I probably didn't even explore. So many different added comments that could be said or are obvious that I didn't say. Obviously, there's going to be some different viewpoints and so on. But like I said, everything here is opinionated. Everything comes from personal experience. Everything comes from how I feel. Some of you may be going out there making $60,000, $70,000 a year. But then someone who is like the average American family, or even average foreign family, I don't know, I say American because that's what I'm familiar with. And you say, all right, I'm making $25,000 a year or what have you. It's tough. I mean, it really is. I'd rather allocate, like I said, buying used games and still getting the same wonderful experience, because a lot of games, a single player, that offer these wonderful things like Skyrim, those are worth paying premium, but then others aren't. All these different things we talked about. It's just this big bowl of what do we do with it all? Now that we got it all, we put it in a pot. Between console pricing, peripherals, games, there's so many different ways that this subject is just shaking around in my mind. And it's hard for me to put it all into words, but I did my best to try to put it out there. If you have any other concerns, thoughts, or feelings on the matter, I'd love to hear them. Always do. So, what I'm going to do here is fade out like I normally do. We're going to have the wall of discussion behind, which is going to be made up of annotations of your comments, so leave them below. And anything goes, Say whatever it is you want to say. If it's just a small sentence and you don't think it's worth saying, it is worth saying, because someone may be thinking what you thought, and they'll plus one up your comment because people agree with you. So don't be afraid to put something even if it's short, and we'll add it, like I said, to the wall discussion at the end. Also, one new thing that I'm thinking about doing is I've got this wall here, right? I've got this space, and I'm thinking that anyone who has comments that truly just blows my mind or amazes me, I'm thinking about taking your name and sticking it right on the wall discussions. Like taking a piece of paper, putting your YouTube name or your Twitter handle or whatever it is, and basically filling up this wall with people who I feel have contributed something of excellence, something that just blows my mind, something that people just generally favor. Giving credit back to you guys, because the wall discussion is made for you guys, but this show really is powered by you. It starts with what's up in here for me, but in the end, it's just made up of discussion. And that's what I like about this show. So, I am Link584. I'm about to fade out here. And you know what? This has been an interesting conversation. Peace out.